That's where the juice is. That is where the treasure is of who we are as an artist and as a creator, that being human in all of our imperfection is where we're going to find the magic, leaning into the mess. I love this.
This is Into the Deep with Catherine Just, a podcast devoted to the evolution of consciousness, connection, and inspired creative expression.
Hey, everybody. Well, this week has been interesting. I have been working on a book. Actually, I haven't been working on my book. And the last time that I worked on it was around October, and it's been about 5 months. And I teach a class called Make the Work, and it is designed to help you get out of your own way so you can make the work you're here to make. Every week, I have 2 sessions. One is for the teaching for the week, and another session we gather on Zoom and we make the work we're here to make. It's literally to hold space for us to get out of procrastination and perfectionism and all of the excuses that we make to not make our work. It became very clear that I needed to sit still and work on the book. So I did that during our session this week. And what was fascinating to see is that, we give ourselves a really hard time when we're procrastinating or we're in perfectionism. But I have to say that when I looked back at the work and read through the book up to this point, I was really grateful for the time that I had off, because now I'm seeing this book in a totally different way. I was able to edit it from a new point of view, and I feel like the book is actually better than if I had just continued through, because I wouldn't have created space to take a breath and then go back to it with fresh eyes. And so I just want to put a plug in for stepping aside and stepping away from our projects. The only issue with that is that when we step away from our project, sometimes we don't make it back. So this episode is about how to make it back to the work once we've taken a step away for whatever reason. I'm going to give you 7 steps that can help you if you find yourself really battling within yourself about making the work that you're here to make, and all the reasons why you're not going to make the work. And hopefully one of these or many of these will be helpful to you. All right, so here we go. The first one is, I highly recommend this book. It's called Art and Fear, Observations and the Perils. Let me say that again. Observations on the Perils and the Rewards of Art Making. I'll put the link down below and you can check it out for yourself. I highly recommend it. And I'm going to read a little bit from page 30. Here we go. Story time. To require perfection is to invite paralysis. Oh boy. The pattern is predictable. As you see error in what you have done, you steer your work toward what you imagine you could do perfectly. You cling ever more tightly to what you already know you can do, away from risk and exploration, and possibly further from the work of your heart. You find reasons to procrastinate, since to not work is to not make mistakes. Believing that artwork should be perfect, you gradually become convinced that you cannot make such work. And in parentheses, it says, you are correct. Sooner or later, since you cannot do what you are trying to do, you quit. And in one of those perverse little ironies of life, only the pattern itself achieves perfection. A perfect death spiral. You misdirect your work, you stall, and you quit. To demand perfection is to deny your ordinary and universal humanity, as though you would be better off without it. Oh boy. Yet this humanity is the ultimate source of your work. Your perfectionism denies you the very thing you need to get your work done. Getting on with your work requires a recognition that perfection itself is, paradoxically, a flawed concept. All right, I'm going to stop there, but there's so much more in this little tiny jam-packed book. I have to say that what was interesting for me is this piece about humanity, that we're literally cutting off from our own humanity. And that's where the juice is. That is where the treasure is of who we are as an artist and as a creator, that being human in all of our imperfection is where we're going to find the magic, leaning into the mess. I love this. So that's tool number one. Okay, but number two is that even knowing this, reading a book, understanding that isn't necessarily going to help you feel safe. There might be a part of you that doesn't feel safe moving forward because of a fear of rejection or your own rejection towards yourself. And so I think it's really important to acknowledge that part of us and not just try to shove it under the rug or push yourself through. I think it's really important to soothe the part of you that doesn't feel safe. And so I highly recommend using subconscious reprogramming techniques that will help, like EFT tapping, the emotional freedom technique that I use. Meditation can also be helpful. Hypnosis can also be helpful. There are so many ways that we can now speak to the subconscious mind, which is literally running the show. It's not just reading a book and having affirmations up and telling yourself to do the thing. It is really about making sure that you are fully aligned on all levels. The subconscious is 90% responsible for how we're showing up in the world. So to not address that is missing a giant piece of the puzzle. If you're interested in any of that, I decided to create a meditation for you. There's a link somewhere. You can go find it and download that for yourself and check it out. The third tool is having an accountability buddy or many of them, and to bookend with them. I set up time where I'm going to time chunk. I'm going to use my phone as a timer and say, I'm going to set my timer for an hour. And I'm going to text my friend who already knows that I do this. And I'm just going to say, I am bookending with you right now. I'm setting the timer for an hour and I'm going to work on my book. And when I'm done working on it for the hour, I will text you back. Now, I have no other responsibility to that person. I don't have to read anything I wrote. I don't have to say whether I got up to get some water or take a break or anything. Like, it's my hour. So I'm really being accountable to myself, but somehow having that sort of structure of someone else outside of me to be accountable to has been useful for me, and using the timer. Those two things combined, magical. So try that out if you haven't already. Number 4 is environmental design. And what I mean by that is setting yourself up so that your nervous system can easily move into doing those tasks that you don't want to do. For me, I know that people say that cleaning up your space is a form of procrastination and avoidance. Not for me. It is literally part of the thing that I need to do in order to land in the airport of creation. I will circle the airport and then start cleaning up this space, and then I can land. So if I can clean this space up and make it really user friendly so that anytime I want to make art, I can grab the pieces that I need. I have things set up right here where I can grab my art materials quickly, and the book I can find on my laptop easily and get it done. And if the environment that I live in isn't working, if it's a disaster, I don't have to use that as an excuse. I can also grab my things and go to a favorite coffee shop and work there. So set up a space that's easy for you to land and start making. Okay, 5 is setting a deadline for yourself and then practicing being impeccable to your word. And I do tell other people what the deadline is, but really, they don't care. It's more for me, but also having that accountability to other people and then setting it up in my schedule so that if there's a deadline, I reverse engineer it and figure out how many days I'm going to block off in my schedule so that I can be efficient with my time and do the things I need to do in order to get to that deadline. Number 6 is getting out of your own way so you can make the work you're here to make. There's nothing like getting out of self-centered fear so you can make the work you're here to make. And I do teach a class. I did mention that earlier. I think there's a wait list somewhere if you want to get on the list. And I use all of these practices and more in that coaching program. You're welcome to join us next time I offer it. And the last thing I'm going to mention today is something that my friend Anne Samoylov taught me 10 years ago. This woman, you need to follow her on Instagram, take her classes, download all of her tools. She has been instrumental in helping me get out of my own way. And one of the key things that she teaches is something called CBB, the letters CBB. And what it stands for is could be better. She's going to be on my podcast and she will tell us more about this. But to summarize how this helps me is that every single piece of artwork, this podcast, the book, anything that I have done could be better. And if I'm in the way by being inside perfectionism and procrastination, that work doesn't get out into the world. So what helps me is CBB. Could be better, deliver it, post it, launch it, write it, make it, and deliver. Get it out there. Get it out into the world. Move on. Keep going. It's more important that it get out into the world than trying to make it perfect. So I encourage you to use CBB. Remember, it could be better, deliver. Could be better, write. Could be better, paint. Keep going. So these are 7 of my top favorite tips and tools to help me get out of procrastination and perfectionism. And I hope that one of these tools is helpful to you. They're all helpful for me and the people that take my classes. And so if there's a tool that you try, I would love to hear if that works for you, or if there's something that you do that helps you. I would love to hear back from you what you found to be true for yourself so that we can all help each other be more fully self-expressed. Okay, I think that's all I have to say for today. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I will see you next time. Ciao for now.
Thank you so much for listening to another episode of Into the Deep with Catherine Just. You can check out all other episodes and help support the podcast over on catherinejust.com/podcast. Be sure to subscribe, rate, comment, and review over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere else you listen to this podcast. You can share this episode on social media. I look forward to having my voice in your ears next time. Take care.